astral projection is our natural born ability to consciously project our awareness out of our physical bodies into different realms and explore the world beyond the physical limitations. This awareness is commonly referred to as the energy body, and we are able to use this energy body as a vehicle to travel and explore the universe, and we can safely return our energy body back to our physical body whenever we want, just by thinking about it.
Hey, hello everybody, welcome to this live. It's so funny, just 5 minutes ago we had a really difficult technical situation. Matthew, his computer just crashed, so that's why we're late, sorry.
That was a close one. I might be a bit jumpy, so I'm sorry. It seems my computer's just not having any of this.
Yeah, we can hear your voice, but the image is freezing up a little bit. But what is important is that you're here now, and
hey, nice.
So happy.
Thanks, bro.
I was just about to go, like, I'm just going to do it alone, the whole talk myself. But there's a lot of lovely story that Matthew is going to tell you. So happy that you're back and your computer is working.
Thanks, man.
I am curious how everyone is doing in the chat. Please just comment a little bit about how you guys are doing, where you guys are from. We have a bunch of people watching. So good to see you guys. So happy that you guys took your time to join us today for this workshop out of your busy day, most likely. And I know you guys are from different parts of the world. Some are like awake in the middle of the night to see this. Some are waking up in the morning. So lots of gratitude for you guys to actually come and join this live workshop. And so today we're going to talk about the secret ways that we can heal and evolve. And I call it secret because they don't really want you to know this stuff, you know. They want you to buy lots of pills and just kind of keep being sick and just buy their pills. Now, I'm not against all pills. As a matter of fact, antibiotics saved my life a few times. But things like antidepressants, for example, that, you know, we know they're just covering up the problem. They're not fixing the problem. I'm against those kind of things, especially when I know there's so many good natural solutions to this. And we're going to talk about some of those very soon. But first, I want to talk about why is healing important. I think a lot of times in the Astral Projection community, we have, you know, people want to come to this practice to travel the universe, to meet their spiritual guides, to time travel, to do all kinds of cool stuff. But the thing is that you can't really go super far up until you healed. And so the analogy I like to talk about is, if you want to build an amazing skyscraper, you need to have a very good foundation first. Otherwise, when you start building a high skyscraper, it's just going to fall and collapse on its own, right? And so healing is so important. It's like the key to all of these spiritual practices we want to do. We have to first heal, so that then from that place from that good foundation of healing and of feeling healed and one, then we can start building up and evolve more and more and more. And so for the sake of the Astral Projection practice, in order to get really far with the practice and have really profound experiences, it is crucial that healing is an essential part of that. And that's why in my program, you know, we work a lot on that aspect of making sure that we're healing along with the session. So Matthew, would you like to talk a little bit about the number 2 reason that we want to heal?
Yeah, it's so you can actually live the life that we all want to live here. You know, I think as someone who, you know, did go through a lot of trauma as a child, you know, and you, I'm sure many of you have yourself, you know, you go through life and sometimes it can be quite difficult just to appreciate the very simple things in life. And obviously, you know, in the astral projection community, we're very focused on maybe getting out of our life. But obviously at some point we do have to come back to our life. You know, we do still have to go to work. You have to shit, you know, you have to make food, You know, you have to live. 80% of our life is actually made up of in-between moments, like getting out of a car, you know, walking across the road, you know, using a knife to cut something. Most of our life isn't kind of the great moments where you're on stage and the lights are on you and you're getting to have this epic moment. You know, it's the moments walking to the stage. It's the moments sitting in your room by yourself, writing down what you're going to do, you know, what you're going to talk about. And it's those moments which can sometimes, for many of us, feel more like a living nightmare than living in a dream. And, you know, I think actually, you know, looking at those things and thinking, right, what is separating me from actually just being happy and being grateful and being able to appreciate what's present in each moment? And that, when you start asking yourself those questions, you start getting slightly different answers. So most people ask questions like, how can I get more money? How can I succeed in my work? How can I, you know, how can I get the girl or the boy of my dreams? But when you ask the question, actually, how can I be present and grateful in each and every moment? Suddenly that question gets different answers. And I've got a little bit of a story about this and how it changed my life. So when I was growing up as a child, my mum and dad, they were quite strict. You know, a lot of my friends, they would say, you know, there's a party happening, they could go, I couldn't go. And if I did go, I'd have to be home at a very specific time. Now, if I didn't get home at that time, which was pretty much a guarantee, because that time was far too restrictive for a person of my age, and that's just, you know, obviously, if you restrict something, it kind of boils up. You know, it's kind of like just pumping a balloon up. It's just going to pop. And that's kind of what was happening inside of me. As my mum and dad kind of put more, you know, they'd kind of discipline me, like, you're grounded, you can't leave the house, you've got to stay here for 2 weeks. Obviously, then I became a boiling pot of anger, and I hated them. I hated them for doing that to me. You know, I couldn't hang out with my friends and things. So obviously, as I grew up, and obviously my parents stopped being the kind of authoritarian object in my life, it became the government, and it became the police, and it became big corporations, or the person that was employing me at that time. And then it got really convoluted and a bit difficult, because obviously all of those feelings that my inner child had, and they were totally valid, they were still running amok. That little inner child, when I came up to a situation where I was presented, you know, if I was ever near police officers, my heart would race. I had a very low regard for them and what they do. Again, you know, when I was employed, I was very, you know, I was always playing out. And it was only when I had some really powerful, deep journeys, and specifically working on healing that, and actually asking myself, it was journeys that was a combination of psychotherapy and LSD. And it was actually going deep into the pain, allowing that inner child to cry, you know, to feel what that felt like, because the part of you is in there and it can feel those feelings. But what we do is we just put a lid on it. We just go, nah, no, I'm not looking at that. But what happens is it seeps out into your life anyway. And before you know it, you're reacting, you're shouting at people, you're getting angry, you know, and you don't even you really think about it, when you step back, you're like, am I really angry at this person? Is this really that worth that much anger? And when you look at it and you do the healing work, you realize, and this is what happened for me, I realized that it was all down to my parents. And I did actually have some very frank, authentic, but also compassionate, you know, I understood through journeying myself that obviously they were just children at some point. They had trauma they brought along, and they've definitely not had the opportunities that I've had to try and heal it. This information isn't even readily available for people. So for me to expect them to have done a different thing is ridiculous. So I had to actually forgive them for that, but also I had to tell them, you know, I had to say that was really difficult for me. You know, it did make me really angry, and that did push me into listening to lots of heavy metal, you know, and that was needed. And but through that process, I took my life from, in all honesty, living in a certain level of hell, a certain nightmare. You know, whenever a police car would go by, I'd literally feel like they were looking for me, even though they had no reason to. You know, whenever I met anyone who was in a higher position than me, I'd instantly, my ego would be in control and I'd get triggered so easily. But through doing the healing, what actually happened is all of that heaviness, all of that kind of automatic response, that trigger, that just went away. It was almost like the heat and the pressure inside me just drained away. And it honestly, since that point, those experiences, they don't even exist in my world anymore. So that's my story about why it's important to heal, you know, and why for me it's been life-changing.
Wonderful. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And so you were saying, you told me before that nowadays you don't actually see a bunch of police cars anymore. But before, as soon as you leave the house, there's a car standing next to your door. Yeah. there's always police everywhere. And that's exactly what I've seen as well when it comes to healing and trauma, is that so much of what's happening in our life is coming from us creating reality. And when there is a trauma, or when there is a trauma, is basically a negative experience that has impacted you on a deeper level, right? And so whenever there is a trauma, that trauma wants to be healed. And so for it to be healed, it will present with different situations in your life today, which are somehow similar, for you to be able to realize that there is a connection, to make that connection, that there is a pattern. These things are happening, aren't random. They're happening for a reason, and they're trying to show you the things they need to heal. So a lot of times when you're having difficult situations throughout your days, and especially when they're like repetitive things are happening multiple times, you might be having similar arguments with different people, or you have relationships with different people, and the same problem occurs again and again. That's an invitation for you to look at, what is it that I need to heal to stop manifesting this type of reality? Because there's something there that I haven't looked at, that I need to heal first, and then reality will start to change as you change. And there is a really good video. There's a lot of videos online. If you guys ever search for semantics, it's basically the way that frequency, sound, affects matter. And you can see there's different videos. There are videos of like a speaker that's vibrating a specific frequency on water, or for example on sand, on a piece of a plate. Some of you have probably seen this. And what's interesting is that when there is a specific vibration that is then making the sound, like zzz, has one specific vibration on that plate, you see the sand forming a specific pattern. And as soon as the vibration of the sound changes, instantaneously also the sand will start shifting into a different pattern, or the water will start shifting into a different pattern. And so what I'm trying to get with this is basically that everything is vibrations, right? And we are broadcasting vibrations. So when you have a trauma and you're broadcasting that vibration, your reality will vibrate and shift into existence into the same way that trauma is. And the only way you can get away from that experience from keep happening is to heal the frequency that you're broadcasting. And when you do that, then instantly, just like the water changes its frequency, its pattern, you will be able to change your reality as well. That's what we talk about in the spiritual community. We talk about how you can create your own reality. And it always sounds so magical and mystical when people talk about that. And it's not just that straightforward. You can't just sit and meditate on something. It's just going to appear. If you have conflicting traumas that are in the way, it's not going to work. You have to heal those parts of you that are in competition with that you want to have. And that's why healing is so important. And if you work on this stuff, like, your reality will start shifting. You'll start having a really beautiful life where you don't have those same arguments with people anymore. Suddenly, you have experiences that you have good conversations with people, and you go on the streets and there's no police trying to like capture you, giving you fines, these kind of things. Suddenly everything is shifting. And what's really good about that is it really empowers you, right? Because you go away from the mindset that you're a victim to this world, that poor you, and these things are happening to you. And you instead go back and like, these things are happening because there's something in me that I have to heal. Cool, that means I can have control over this. That means that if I focus on healing, then I'm able to change my reality from that's happening outside. So work on the internal to change the external and not the other way around. And that is so, so powerful. And now I would like to talk a little bit about the different ways, different tools that we can use to heal, and a little bit how they work. So there's so many ways that there's Reiki, meditation, breath works, psychedelics, hypnotherapy, astral projection, and of course we're going to focus more on the astral projection side of things in today's workshops, because otherwise we'll have to talk for 10 hours or something. But we'll cover psychedelics as well, hypnotherapy, and a bit of the other stuff as well. So if we talk about the astral projection healing, sometimes people wonder, like, how can you use astral projection for healing? Because surely that's just, you cannot do that. You can just travel and come back, and that's all you can do. But actually, there's so many things that you can do with astral projection, which is why we're such a big fan of this, and we're trying to share this information to more people so that more people are aware of this immense power that we have naturally in our bodies. That we can do, that we're born with this skill, that we don't have to buy pills or anything to be able to do this. It's natural. We don't have to take anything. We can just do it, right? So that's why we focus so much on talking about astral projection. And so when it comes to the healing that we can do with astral projection, I've detected like about 3 different forms. And so the first one is Reiki healing, and that's basically when you can get out of body and you can call forward somebody else that you want to heal, or you might be able to just go to that person and heal them in this kind of Reiki style, where you put your hands on top of them. But actually, when you're out of body, you can actually put your hands inside of them as well, and heal them like that. And you can also see the different energy fields that they have, and you can see what areas are sort of problematic, because you have a different vision when you're out of body. And one of our students actually did this. She was a Reiki healer, and she knew Reiki really well, but she was new to astral projection. And she thought, this would be really cool for me to learn. If I could learn astral projection, maybe I can use that with my healing. And surely she did, because what happened was, when she started to, this was quite cool, that I thought you can only do it by going out of body first. But what happened with her was that she would start the healing practice, and then in that healing practice, suddenly she would just find herself being in the room with her patient, and she could see the surroundings. In this example, it was a person that was in a hospital bed, so she can see the hospital, and she can see the patient, and she could sort of see his energy field and do the Reiki healing. And that's like super powerful stuff, right? Next level Reiki healing. That's really cool. And then the out of body information healing, which I like to call the second one. That is basically when you're able to go out of body and you have an experience that is teaching you something about a problem that you have. Maybe you're looking for a solution. And so a good example is one of our students, Ashwin. He had erectile dysfunction, and so he wanted to find out why is he having this problem. And so the procedure is basically, you first just get out of body, and then in the out of body state, when you left your physical body, you have control in that moment. Then you just make that intention that you want to get clarity on this sickness that you have, or maybe somebody else's have, and then the experience will show you basically the issue that is there. I'm going to play this clip with Ashwin because it's really, really interesting.
Another profound experience I can remember is when I went inside my body. So I started suffering from erectile dysfunction, and that was because I was smoking too much, and I was smoking a bong all the time,
Yeah.
like 10 times a day, 20 times a day. I don't know. Initially, when I got into the projection, I thought I was in an alien landscape. I could not recognize these things around me, but I was inside my arteries, and I was seeing how they were getting blocked up. I saw that happen, and I saw my immune system trying to repair it. And in the process of repairing it, it's thickening arteries. I just saw all that, and then I was then in my lungs, and I couldn't recognize it because there was so much tar. There's so much tar in my lungs. I said, "What am I doing to my body?" I came out, gave away all my smoking stuff to my friends who smoke. Just didn't smoke again after that.
Wow, amazing. I love
Yeah,
his story, man.
it's so good.
And it
And
only
I was
gets
so,
better as well.
yeah, it gets, yeah, you guys can watch the full thing on our website. It's really profound. And just what he said as well, that he didn't even have any cravings. That was really surprising to me, that the next day after that experience, he just stopped smoking immediately and just gave his stuff away, and didn't have any cravings anymore. And I was like, how is that even possible? Because, obviously you had some addiction stuff. And he was just like, yeah, no, I no longer look at those, at the equipment as my friends. They're just like this silent assassin that was kind of killing me slowly. And that's so interesting, because the thing is, this is one of the reasons I find it so fascinating, is because everyone knows smoking is bad for you. It says everywhere, smoking is bad, it hurts your health and everything. But still we do it. So what does that mean? It means that just having somebody tell you something, or you reading it somewhere, isn't really enough to make a big impact on you. But when you go out of body, or whatever you do, that you have an experience that shows you something so in your face, like in this case, you saw his lungs, being blackened. Uh, that's like, wow, okay, I get it now. The message is so loud, but it's that first-hand experience that you have with truth. That is what really impacts us. And I think that's why we come here to have a human experience, because we have to have the experience to really understand what it is to be human. We can't just, like, someone just can't just tell us, hey, this is how it feels to feel love as a human, or this is how it feels to make love to another person, and this is how it feels to eat. Like, we will never understand. Whereas we have to come here and have the first-hand experience of being a human to really understand. And therefore, all of these other things we have to also have a first-hand experience with. And that's, yeah, fascinating stuff.
That's
Now, the
amazing.
third way that we can heal with astral projection is through, of course, through having an out-of-body experience. So out-of-body experience, not just having information given to you that you can then take action on, like with Ashwin, because obviously he didn't heal in the astral. He got information that he then brought back, and then it changed his life, changed the way he was doing his things. He just stopped smoking. That was where the healing came after, right? Now, there are out-of-body experiences where you can actually go out of body, and then you have an experience where the experience is actually healing you. And so a really good example with this one is one of our students, Carly, who had she was really sick. When she joined the program, she didn't even tell us how sick she was. I didn't know exactly how sick she was. I only found out later that her kidneys were at 12% functionality. And this was actually putting her on the transplant list. And she was in a life-threatening situation where if she didn't get transplants, she would most likely die. That was kind of the situation. And during that time, COVID happened, and there was a huge queue, and they couldn't help her, basically. So she was looking for alternative ways. She came to us to try astral projection. And what happened was when she started having astral projections, she started to connect with her spiritual guides. And I think this is one of those big milestones that for every astral projector is like one of those things you want to get to as soon as possible, to connect with your spiritual guides, because then they can start helping you get further. They can show you around, basically. They can guide you on where to go, what to do, how you can do different things. And so this started to happen to her. She started to have this regular connection with her guides, and they were showing her different ways of healing. And I'm just gonna let her talk about this because it's so fascinating.
The exercises that I was told to do when I was with them face to face, I started to practice in person as well, in the physical. So I started meditating, I started doing positive affirmations on healing. I started doing visualization techniques like quantum leaping and things, energy work. And then I would do that in the physical. And then I would also, I created this place in the astral realm where I still go to now. So I specifically go to this area and I call it my healing chamber. And my guides always greet me there. And then we exchange energy and we focus that energy on healing the certain parts of my body I know need healing. A little bit further on in the process, we would, what I call calling forward my body. So I would call forward my body. I know it sounds really strange, but I would literally call forward my own body in the astral realm and identify which areas of myself needed work. So they would kind of come into focus, and they would either look like vacancies, like voids, or they would flash up another colour, or they would just be vacant of light. And I would understand by seeing it that those areas of my body needed that energy and light to be pushed into those areas. So that's what I started to do. So I would sit in meditations and force the energy to those areas, and then watch it grow and heat up and heal the cells from the inside out.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing. That's so good. Like Carly really, she went on such a journey. And one of the other things that isn't in that clip, which I think is so important to share with people, because it's another way of healing in the astral, is actually healing through the Akashic records. So the Akashic records is everything that's ever happened, and we align on those timelines. And obviously our life has a timeline, but there's many timelines that we can take. And what she explains later on in the video, which I highly recommend you all go and watch if you're interested in this, is that she actually speaks with her guides, and the guide says, look, there's actually some trauma that happened to you that you actually need to rewrite, because it's stopping you from essentially moving forwards with the healing that we're doing here. So it was almost like she was actually going on stage with the experience. So her younger self was there experiencing the experience, but she was also there as her now older self. And she was able to actually whisper into her younger self's ear whilst she was experiencing the trauma that it was all going to be okay, and that she was there for her. And that was enough to rewrite the situation, because her younger self from that timeline would have experienced there being a presence, a loving presence, actually telling her, probably in her ear, probably experienced it as like an angel, saying, it's all going to be okay, I'm here for you. And when she came back, she said that was a huge part of the healing. So there's many ways of actually healing through the astral, and I think that way is a particularly powerful way to do it. Also looking at, what obviously, like, there is some research as well. I think it's always interesting to look at research when we're looking at these types of experiences, because you can gain a lot of information from it. And there's some research done on miraculous remissions. So these were people who essentially were terminally ill. They were going to die, and there was nothing else. There was no other options. They'd exhausted all options. Yet, some miraculous way, they actually healed themselves, and they continued on with their life. And when they got checked, the cancer or whatever it was that was going to be terminal was no longer there. And when they actually contacted these people, there was 70 different things, and it was quite a large study. I think it was, you know, a couple of thousands of people, but it was actually 70 things that people came up with. And out of the 70, majority of people actually agreed on just 9. And out of those 9 things, 7 of them were non-physical actions. Now that's very interesting, because most people, when they're faced with a physical condition, they go towards chemo, pills, you know, even diet. You know, these are all physical things. Okay, so I'm just going to read out some of the things that actually were the 7 most common things that people who had miraculous remissions all commented on. So one of them was taking control of your health. Just making the decision that you are the one, through your direct experience, that can actually heal yourself, instead of expecting or hoping that it's going to be someone outside, like a doctor or a surgeon or whoever. Following your intuition. Again, getting in touch with yourself, actually asking yourself, does this feel right? You know, it's so, how many situations have you been in your life where you've done something and you've got an alarm bell in your head going, do not go this way, do not do this, you know, but you go there because the man's wearing a coat. He should know what to do, shouldn't he? You know, it's like, you know, my partner had this experience. They took her womb away and she was like, I'm sure I shouldn't be here. And I'm like, do you want to leave? She's like, no, I think I should go ahead with it because this is the thing that's, you know, the right way to go. She's like, she's been like, that was totally the wrong way. I knew it. She knew it inside of herself. It was, her intuition was screaming for her to listen to her. So listening to your intuition, releasing suppressed emotions. Okay. So obviously, how can you heal if your frequency is in that pain? So that's what obviously Flo was talking about earlier. Increasing positive emotions, actually having something positive in your life. You know, how long in life do we spend focusing on being positive, opposed to maybe just watching something or receiving information from the news and then basically holding the anxiety of that, you know? Embracing social support, be part of a group, you know, that's something that's really powerful. Obviously people that do come and join and get involved with Astral Projection program is that we're all people on this path together, you know, little family helping each other out. Deepening your spiritual connection. Okay, that I think, you know, Joe Dispenza talks about this. It's your destiny with the divine, you know. So how many of us are actually really thinking in our life, especially if you're ill, about that connection? Now, some people call it God, some people call it source, some people call it knowing. You know, it's that feeling of just being at peace. Our actual natural state is of peace and happiness. It's just the cloud of judgment and the illusion of separation that causes us to think all the different things in our head that causes us the pain. So, but we are actually that happiness and that peace naturally. And then the last one, having a strong reason for living. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, but actually knowing that I'm a multidimensional being and that I can travel the universe, that's a pretty strong reason for living, you know. So that's some of the things that that the study showed really help people heal from the most terminal illnesses. So if you are struggling with any illness, it doesn't have to be terminal. If you do any of those things, then you're going to start getting better. You're going to start increasing your chances of living a happier and more fulfilled life. And one of the best ways to do that, obviously, is having a practice that supports that. So, you know, through astral projection, you get direct experience of that. You get to directly meet with your guides, feel that support, you know. So if that is something you're interested in, obviously, I don't know if we said this already, we actually work with a hypnotherapist and a trauma healer, because, you know, this is a holistic path. This isn't just a get out of body. This is your whole life. So if those are some things that you're looking for in your life, you know, do you know, book a call with me. I'd love to talk to you and obviously help you if that's what you're looking for. So obviously, I think the next section is like, how do these tools expand our consciousness? You know, and I think, you know, through actually practicing these things, getting out of body, having these profound experiences with your guides, or actually seeing inside your body like Ashwin, you know, it does change how you perceive reality. So, for example, one of the most common things that I hear from people who've had an astral projection, maybe when they're a child, and then now they're obviously wanting to have another experience, you know, they've tasted it, but now they want more, is that what they say is they say how amazing it feels the morning after they've had their experience, you know, because it's like, it's that feeling, it radiates throughout your whole day. So let's say without an astral projection experience, your day might have just been normal work, just kind of just getting on with like what's happening in your life, but you don't notice anything around you, anything different. However, when you've had one of these experiences and you've done some deep healing, what you tend to find is the morning afterwards, you actually wake up and you see the sun shining, you feel its warmth, you hear the birds singing, you notice the glistening of the water, the dew in the morning on the leaves of the plant, you know, and all of that is so precious, you know. Most of the time we just walk past all of that, but it's a totally different state of being to be in, to feel that present and that at one with it. So I think Flo, you've got something to say about the hypnotherapy, because I mean it's amazing.
Yeah. There's so much to say about all of this stuff. I think when it comes to, you know, how do these things, how do these tools expand our consciousness? I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is the fact that when you are in an ultra state, which is basically a state that you're not normally in, you know, we're always in this beta frequency, walking around physical reality. This is our natural state that we're in when we're awake. And in our society, it's not very common to indulge into the other states of consciousness. Like with the astral projection practice, we go into the theta state of consciousness. And of course, with psychedelics, you go into other states of consciousness. And these states of consciousness gets you to see a different perspective of your reality and also other realities. Like it really expands your perception. And it's a bit like you're kind of stepping outside of your bubble, and then you're looking in and you're like, oh, okay, this is me, this is my life, this is my friends, this is how I treat my friends, this is how I treat my family. Oh, okay, this is, you know, you start realize things. You start to look at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes people that don't consume psychedelics, they tell me that, oh, that's just to escape reality. And I'm like, no, that's the opposite. It's like you face reality. It's like you really look at what what you've been doing. And sometimes, you know, you know, people have bad trips because what they're seeing isn't pleasant, what they're finding out about themselves. But it nevertheless, it will show you a reality, a bigger reality, which you then have no other option than to look at and try to understand, okay, what is actually going on? It makes you question more questions, and it leads to you having a more expansive awareness of life, about reality, about emotions, about how everything is connected, because that's one of the things that comes up a lot in these expanded states. You get to feel and experience the connectivity between how everything is in life, how every single thing is connected, how everything is one. And with that comes great healing. You know, with that comes this. So you wake up in the morning and you look at things with completely new eyes. No longer look at yourself as, poor me, I'm here in this reality and this is all there is. And you start to look at this bigger picture. And I mean, there are so many levels to this. And the more you dive into this, as I'm sure some of you have noticed, the more you find out more. Then you find out you don't know so much, and then you find out a little bit more, and then you feel again that you don't know so much. And it's like the rabbit hole goes really, really deep. And with this practice, we can really dive really, really deep into what is possible within and without this universe and other universes and parallel dimensions. And you talked a little bit about hypnotherapy just a second ago, Matthew, and yes, this is something that we use in our program in order to help our students to heal. And so one of the things that happens as soon as the student joins our program is that they get to fill in a questionnaire. And based on what comes up in that questionnaire, if there are some traumas or some fears or whatever it is that we consider can be an obstacle for their growth, they will actually get to have a session with the healer. And the healers. We actually have a few on the team, not just one, depending on what the issue is, because that's so crucial. We don't want people to just go out of body immediately. We want to make sure that they are ready, that they don't have a bunch of trauma, and that they heal. And of course, in the astral, you can also heal. And so you might ask the question, why do you have to heal first? Do you have to heal in order to astral project? No, you can actually heal in the astral as well. And sometimes what happens is that if a healing or a trauma hasn't come up in this process, it might come up in the astral. So what can happen is you start astral projecting, and for some reason, you're always taken to your childhood home where there was a trauma that took place or an abuse or something. And you don't want to be there. Like, I don't want to see this, but it's the experience it wants to see that because it wants to heal. Before you can go somewhere further, you have to work on the parts of you that isn't healed, like we said before. And this is what happens with the astral. You get taken to specific places because you have to heal certain things. And in order to accelerate this process, you can actually do the healing also in the physical. So you can heal in both places. And then, of course, you can evolve faster. That's what we want to do. That's like the most powerful way to do it. Just focus a lot on the healing to get further and further with your practice and in life. Now, when we talk about, let's see here, the life and the things that we've learned from having these tools, we can talk about that, because I think that's really gonna show something different about this. So if we go to the next section here, what we learned when we've been using these tools. Matt, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think, when you start having these experiences, like Flo said, you start to experience the interconnected nature of all things. And that comes in many forms. Now, one of my experience that I had, this isn't for everyone, and it certainly isn't a recommendation. This is just something that I felt called to do as part of my journey, part of my healing. I'd been working with this for some time, so that it felt like the right thing for me to do. Disclaimer. But I actually did 1,000 mics of LSD. And
1,000 micrograms of LSD.
Yeah, so that's equivalent to 10 doses.
10 tabs, like these tabs that people normally take, and they have a very, very powerful trip. You took 10 of those.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And I had, like I said, I had been working with it for a few days beforehand, so it wasn't just pure 1,000 mics out of nowhere. It was a graduated over a couple of days, but it was significantly more powerful than anything I'd obviously ever had before. And what happened was it collapsed duality. And this is something that you can actually get in touch with without having to do LSD. You can get in touch with this by checking out like non-duality meditations. Someone that I particularly enjoy doing is Rupert Spira. Is very good at helping you to understand what we are. And in the experience, it became very clear to me that we are that life force that powers everything, that creates worlds, that grows the trees, that keeps our heart beating. And when you realize you're that, and again, I think this is something with the astral experience, which is really powerful, which is that when you have these multi-dimensional experiences where you're collapsing different layers of identification, So like most of us, you know, before you have an out of body experience, we identify with being like a bag of bones, you know, a meat suit, and that's who we are, you know. And if that meat suit gets damaged, and you know, it really gets damaged, well, that's it, it's over, you know. But that's just not true, because when you actually have an out of body experience, you realize, oh, even without the body, I'm still aware. I'm still present. I can still be and think and do stuff. Thinking is not part of the brain. You know, I'm able to, you know, literally be in an out of body state and go, oh, what did I have for breakfast earlier? Now, that's obviously not contained in the brain because you're totally out of your body at this point. And this is the same experience people who've had near-death experiences have, where they're able to, you know, their brain and their body is totally dead, but they're able to hear people in the room. They're able to tell them exactly what they were doing. So in these experiences, what it really showed me, and what I think it shows a lot of people, is just that our identification with being that limited physical being is very limited, you know. And as we start to expand that, we realize that we're part of something much, much bigger. And from that perspective, when you hold that inside yourself as that knowing, which I said earlier, that knowing is healing in and of itself. Because suddenly, instead of your brain constantly sending a message going, oh yeah, Matt's ill, Matt's got an illness, Matt's leg or whatever is ill, you're having a message going, I am infinite consciousness, unbounded by physical form. And that's a totally different reality to be in.
So it sounds like you had this kind of experience of how I like to call it, when you are experiencing that you are God, essentially, like you are one with God, or God is you and you are God, and there's no separation. There's no like a God on the cloud with a beard that is separate to you. Like you are a part of God, and I've had experiences like that too. One of the experience when I had, it was the experience with Bufol-Varius, which is called 5-MeO DMT. MEO DMT. Yeah. This is like the most powerful DMT, the most powerful psychedelic on the planet. And I had it the first time, I had it twice. The first time I was curious about exactly these questions, like, okay, what are we? What am I? You know, what is God? What is all this? And I got the same answer. And that's quite a common answer to get when you have these very strong experiences. Again, I don't recommend this either to everybody, because it's very powerful stuff. Like it was extremely strong. The first time was strong. I thought it was quite strong. Second time was a whole different story. But the first time I got that experience, that it was that we are God. Everything is God. And I remember hearing this other part of me, or this voice saying, yes, I'm always with you and you're always with me. There is no separation. I hear every thought that you think. It's not like you have to speak to me or something, or I'm the separate thing. I am you. I am everything. I am the smell. I am. To me, it's like, I love The Matrix, right? The movie, and a lot of the listeners also love The Matrix. I know that for sure. And you can see God as the code, the green code of the Matrix. It's like, it's the building blocks of everything. It's the energy. It's everything and everyone that you see is God. It's all the same thing. And yes, that saying these words right now sounds a bit. Yeah, it sounds a bit cliche. It doesn't really do much. It's when you have the experience of feeling that's when you really have that. Oh shit! That's deep. That means a lot, because then you don't see yourself as the separate human being, this portal human. You're now a part of this bigger thing that is connected to everything. And I think this is one of the experiences I had in the astral with my spiritual guides, recent ones, was just talking about this, like talking about like why we don't know these things. Because a lot of times I'm like, why don't we know where we're from? Why don't we know where we're supposed to go? Why don't we, like, there's so many questions we don't have the answers to. Why is that? And I've been feeling quite frustrated about these things, that, like, you grew up as a child, you ask your parents like, hey, what's the meaning of life, or what is going on, and they just don't really know, and no one really knows for sure. Everyone has like some ideas, and growing up, I found that quite frustrating. But now, the answer is the knowledge that I've been receiving through these altered states of consciousness with the astral projection and other ways as well, is that it is by design that we come here with a blank slate, not remember anything from the past, and we're supposed to go on a journey of self-discovery, where we just kind of like we ask the bigger questions and we figure things out as we go. And there's a beauty in the mystery of not knowing. Imagine you just knew everything. You're just born and you just knew everything about all your previous lifetimes and everything that's happening. You just knew everything. How would life be? It would be kind of a little bit boring in a way. The mystery would be completely gone, right? There's nothing to figure out anymore. Everything is just, yeah, it's like this. But the fact that you don't know, it makes it so much more interesting, because now there's a mystery. Like, what's going on here? What are we doing here? What are you doing? That's a religion you're having? You're praying? Okay, all right. You have a different one? Okay, well, which one? Oh, okay, it's confusing. Oh, what am I doing here? What's going on? I have to work. Like, there's so many things going on. It just keeps it more interesting in a way, and so that's what's been coming more and more. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go on a journey of finding out for ourselves, and that's also a very important point to make, that it is cool that I'm standing, sitting here talking about these things and teaching you about these things and saying that this is how it is and all that. But this is just some words. To actually experience this for yourself is a completely different thing. If you can having experience with God or with oneness, that's a completely different thing. That's what's going to have a big impact on you. That's what's going to make life-changing decisions take place. But somebody just saying these words, that's not going to make a big change. You're going to go back to your life tomorrow doing the same thing you did before, and there's nothing going to change. And so it's all about having the experience. It's all about being able to do something that's going to put you in a state, have an out-of-body experience, for example, and having experience that's going to teach you something that is going to impact you and is going to improve you. It's going to have a positive impact on you. And I wanted to share another experience that I had on my second Bufo Alvarius DMT trip, which was, up until this point of the day, the most intense experience I've ever had in my whole life, like beyond anything that I've ever experienced, in terms of intensity and also in terms of like how profound it was. So after the first experience that I understood this deep wisdom that I was one with God and everything was one and there's no separation, I was like, okay, the second trip, I want to go even deeper, and I want to ask, the question I asked was, okay, now that I know, because you're supposed to hold the pipe and put it up to your heart here and just kind of close your eyes and make an intention. And so the intention I made was like, okay, now that I know that I am God, that everything is God, show me what's possible. And that was a pretty big thing to ask for. And they said, okay, for this one, you have to take a 15-second inhale. And I was like, oh, I think I did like 6 seconds last time. Like 15 seconds. Okay, so how do I do this? I had to practice the breathing a few times, and then I had to like inhale through this pipe very, very slowly. And like for 15 seconds, it's very long, 15 seconds. I did a few practices. I was like, okay, let's do this. And then I did it. I tried to do 15 seconds. And as I got to 8, I started to feel like this white smoke was like very powerful. And I almost coughed. And they're like, no, keep going. And I was in this, I'm just going to share the setting. So the setting is basically, I'm in a tent, like an Indian style tent, like a teepee. And I'm in Mexico at the retreat in Mexico, where they facilitate this. And there's a woman shaman and there's a man shaman, and they're both in the room with me. Very compassionate people, very nice. I get the pipe. I get to about 10 seconds, and then I just feel like there's no way I can continue. It's just like my reality was just dissolving. So I take the pipe, I lay down, and there's just like this explosion where I just literally just dissolve. There's no longer Florentine, you know. And some people might heard these type of experiences before. It's called an ego death experience, where you completely like dissolve. You no longer identify yourself with your identity in this physical reality. You're now somebody. You're just nobody. You're just experiencing something. And the experience was just like showing me like the most insane visuals and emotions, and it was like showing me life in all forms in a little bit like this.
His heart rate is getting dangerously high.
You think you know how the world works? You think that this material universe is all there is? What is real? What mysteries lie beyond the reach of your senses? At the root of existence, mind and matter meet. Thoughts shape reality. Who are you in this vast multiverse? Mr. Strange?
And then I just understood everything about life in a crazy way that can't be explained. But it was just like, I got to understand, like I had this moment of knowing, and I was just like, as I came back, I was just like kind of shaking and like, oh my God, holy fuck, life is magnificent. It was like this, it was like this deep knowing that, and as I was lying there, like it was very interesting because I could feel the difference between the expansion of my greater consciousness, my soul, and my brain, who's trying to understand what just took place. And it was like, what was that? What's happening here? What's over there? Oh, and there was this larger part of me that was like, brain, just don't try to understand. Just listen, just feel, just be in the moment, just enjoy this ride. You know, there was that's kind of what it was saying. And so I just like let go, and I was just surrendering to the experience. I was trying to swallow and like kind of come back to physical reality. And yeah, there was so many messages, but the ones that I managed to kind of integrate and come back with was that this whole thing that's happening is a magnificent, crazy experience. It's amazing. This is the only human words that you can put on it, and there is nothing to worry about. There's nothing to fear. Everything is going to be fine. And I was kind of seeing how I was like going around hugging different friends and family members to say everything is okay. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything is just perfect. And it was like this deep knowing. And I also had this other vision. I was like, okay, as soon as I come back to Barcelona, I'm going to like put this like into my Astral Projection program as a step one in the training. Like people have to go to Mexico and do this DMT and have this DMT experience before the program starts. It's going to be like a great start. And then like the next day when I was thinking about this, like, this is not a good idea. This is probably not for everybody. This is like really, really intense. To be honest, I don't know if I could ever do that again, because it was really pushing the limits of what I could like take as awareness. It was so strong, right? Probably definitely not something for everybody. It's too strong for I think for most people. And I've also heard that some people actually kind of lose it afterwards, and that was the thing that kind of made me not want to do it again. The fact that I heard, hearing stories about other people that have done it, and they came back, and they just couldn't deal with reality anymore. They were just kind of, they lost it. It was just too much for them, right? And that's the thing with these really powerful psychedelics, right? They can, you know, they can take you too far further than what you can deal with. And when it comes to the astral projection practice, I find that it's completely opposite. You don't really get to see further than you're ready to experience. That's why, you know, we have something called the guarding of the threshold. Some of my students know what that is, but it's basically there is this subconscious, or there's this functionality that when you get very close to that state of getting out of body, there can be disturbance. Some sort of a voice can be in your ear saying, "The house is burning, you have to leave now," or someone just screams in your ear, or you hear your mom's voice calling your name or something like that. And that is like a test of maturity to see if you're ready to go out of body. And if you fall for that, then, you know, you're going to wake up and like, oh, what? And there's no one there. And then you fell for it, right? And what you're supposed to do is just continue and not let that discourage you. So it's like a test. And so if you're able to pass that test, and you can then separate, you can overcome your fear, you can go out of body, then you get to experience, you know, some things. But you're not going to get like a crazy experience like this, like a Bufo experience. It's going to be a very subtle, controllable experience that you can consciously navigate. And if you don't like it, if you want to go back, you can just think about your body and you're back in a second. There's no way I could have gone back from that trip. Like, I was in it, it was just consuming me, and I was going to be there, and I was there for like an hour, or I don't know, time was difficult to know, but it was a long time. There was no way I could say, oh, I don't like this, I want to return now. Like, stop this. And usually, like, I was prepared that I had to surrender and not hold back. But people that try to hold on to control or their identity, usually they have a bad trip, because they're being pulled away from everything that they are, and they're like trying to hold on to it. So of course it's going to be a very conflictive experience, and then that turns into a really bad experience, and people can actually get very traumatized and hurt, damaged from experience like that. So this is definitely not something for everybody to do when it comes to these powerful psychedelics. But I think that they are very interesting in terms of seeing what's possible. And so for me, when I came back, I realized, okay, I cannot really, this is not something that I would promote people to do necessarily, but this is something that I believe it's possible to do with astral projection. As a matter of fact, I know it's possible because I know some people have done it. Like, for example, Joe Dispenza talks about these types of experiences in his book, Becoming Supernatural. Talks about having experiences with oneness, right? And so we know that this is possible. So how cool would it be to be able to, in a controlled environment, just astral project into these other realms, or just a higher realm, just have an experience with oneness, with God, and realize your multidimensional self, and come back and have this not just like something that you do once, but you can do it multiple times, right? And that's also the thing. When you do this, we have these experiences multiple times. When this becomes a part of your life, then you have the physical life, your work and family and all that. That's one thing. But you have this other side, this more expansive side that you're experimenting with, that you're doing. And because it's becoming a regular thing, now this becomes quite a big thing that then puts perspective and expands your perception of your life here. And that's how you also have that integration and healing. And that's how you have this expansive life that you can live in. And that's how you get really, really far with this, is that frequency of doing these type of expansive experiences on a regular basis. So how cool would it be for us humans to actually learn how to do this, how to have these out-of-body experiences, and have them on a regular basis collectively, and be able to expand our collective consciousness. And this is exactly what we are focusing on with elastic perception. This is the work that we're doing. It's all about, we want to reach more people. We want to teach more people how to have these experiences so that they can expand their consciousness. And that's going to expand the collective consciousness. And this is what we believe is the way to actually heal the world, how for us to evolve to another level as human beings, for us to no longer see each other as separate, you versus me, but we're now one, and we're collectively going into this expanded state of consciousness to learn and grow and evolve. So healing and evolving together, not just individual people, but like on a big scale. That's what we're working towards. And this is why we've created a program to do this. It's a 12 weeks program, and it's not 12 weeks because we wanted to like make it as 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks because you need at least 3 months of practicing this. This is not something you just do overnight and then boom, you can do it. I know some videos on YouTube will tell you that you can just astral project overnight with this technique, but that's not what it's about. It's really about a lifetime of practice. And in order to help somebody with this practice, it takes time. It takes about 3 months just to get people started, to get people going, to teach people how these tools works so they can start doing it. But then it takes more and more months and years to get further and further and expand our consciousness. And this is the work that we're focusing on. And the way that we do it is through this online platform that consists of videos, consists of soundtracks that you meditate with, consists of hypnotherapists that can help you with your traumas and to heal. And it consists of coaching so that you get coaching and help when you need it, so that you can get unstuck, so you understand what you're supposed to do in different situations. And then there's a community of other people that are in the program as well. They're studying the same thing as you, that you can talk to and collaborate. And in this way, in this learning environment, we're able to take way more people to actually succeeding with this practice than, you know, your everyday program that exists out there that just gives you some videos and says, good luck. That's it. Give me your money and here's some videos and good luck. We want to actually help people to have these experiences because we want people to expand their consciousness. This is our mission. So I hope you guys can join us on that journey. Now, we're going to take some questions and answers. So you guys can now comment in the live chat if you have any questions, which I'm sure you guys will have at this point. Just please just comment and let them flow. If you have any questions about the program, if you have any questions about astral projection, about psychedelics, about healing, anything that we've been talking about, you can just go ahead and comment.
One of the things I thought when you were talking, Flo, is something that Tony Robbins says, which is like, you've got to be thirsty, you know? You got to be thirsty for this stuff. You want to stay thirsty, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, but by cultivating that level of passion, you get better results, you know? That's one of the things, you know, it's a level of commitment. When you really want this, if you like, you know, obviously when you do a psychedelic and it dissolves your reality for you and your personality and who you think you are, that's all done in one go. But obviously, that's, you know, you're not necessarily getting the muscles to do that yourself or hold on to those states. You're opening the door, you know it exists. But with astral projection, I believe, you know, if you really are committed to dissolving that personal identity and actually going into that unified identity of oneness, then it will take you there. You just have to really want it, you know, because when you start to dissolve and you go into those more unified levels of consciousness where you don't have a form anymore, you know, you're not a physical being at that point, you know, things start to shift and change in ways that feel uncontrollable. Obviously, our natural response is to go, you know, and then that ends the experience. So you want to really cultivate that strong passion and that dedication to be like, you know what, I'm going to hold my shit together no matter what. I have no fear, you know. I think the quantum affirmations track that we have is amazing for that. It really gets you into that mindset to really, you know, get you knowing that you are a consciousness explorer. You know, you're going out there and you're having these profound experiences for a reason.
Oh, you're talking about the soundtrack that we create for the students in week one.
Yeah.
Customize a specific soundtrack to for each student with it's a custom-made soundtrack for the specific student with their own programming that they need for their mind to get out of body. Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. Students love it, and it really helps to start your day with that soundtrack. Let's say some questions here that we got through here. Okay. My training.
So I think Helle is saying, would this would be a live training? So the actual course is a video course, but then we actually do live coaching. We actually have 4 hours a week available for people to actually come and speak with a coach who is able to astrally project, and is helping hundreds of people do exactly the same. So, you know, obviously when you ask questions, they're going to be able to really help you. And what's really nice about that is it's like a ping pong experience. So like by week 3, when you start having this experience and you start booking your first coaching call, you've obviously already done the practices for 3 weeks. So we're talking the same language, and you know you've actually put some time and energy into it. So at that point, you can say, okay, I've got this far, but what's happening here? And then when they tell you what you need to change, you have a week to go and change that, put that into practice. Then you come back, and again, it's like this backwards and forwards. And each time you just taking those stepping stones. And even when you've got out of your body, you know, it doesn't end there. You know, it's not like, oh, get out of your body, that's the end. No, you know, obviously, how do you control that experience? How do you stay out for longer? How do you direct it? So all of these things, you know, this is why coaching is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Because what we found was that the number one problem that people have isn't that there isn't enough methods out there online. You know, you can read and watch YouTube videos, and there's lots of methods. People share hundreds of methods. But what happens is you go and try those methods, and then nothing happens, or something might happen, but you don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing. You get confused. You don't know what you're supposed to do. It's quite funny, because it's only when you start to practice that you realize that you have no fucking clue what you're supposed to do. You feel completely like, what happened? I just fell asleep, or I was just staying awake and nothing really happened. So it's a very abstract practice, and you definitely need a guide to help you on this journey. And that's what we specialize in, is really like helping people, like taking people by the hand throughout the whole process. And so, yes, we have live trainings, and we also have a video platform, so that we combine both worlds. So you have the video platform that just goes through all the techniques and all the things that you need to do. That's generally the same for everybody. But then once you start the practice, you're going to have your individual experience with the practice. So then you can have your individual questions. And of course, if those questions don't get answered, you will get stuck, and you will lose motivation, and you will give up very quickly. And that's what happens for people. People have been trying to do this for, you have people coming on the call, Matthew, that have been trying to do this for like 20 years, 50 years, like really long times. They try, they didn't work. They don't know what they're doing right. They don't know what they're doing wrong. So then being able to come to the coaching sessions and ask questions and get help is so effective. Okay. So definitely it's nice to see so many students there on this live. Good to see everybody here. Hope you guys are doing great with your practice, and that you keep to it. Which question should we take next here? Anyone has some questions?
got one about Akashic Records. Also one about.
Let's see which one it is.
Bit at the top.
Is it Petra?
Yeah.
So this, I think, there can be a whole program just on the Akashic Records, but essentially it's something that you can do when you get a body and you get more advanced. Obviously, it's not something that would happen on the first, in the first weeks of the program or something, but it's something that if you keep working on it, you are able to get in touch with spiritual guides that can then help you to go to these places and have Akashic Records readings. And with the Akashic Records, like you talked about that before, Matthew, it's like, yeah, it's a record of everything that has happened, everything that will happen, or probably there's a probable future there that you can. It's a probable future timelines that you can visit. There is the past that you can visit, and there's the now that you can visit, and there's an infinite amount of dimensions of universes out there. So yeah, great place to gather knowledge.
I actually spoke to someone recently who called on the call, and they'd actually gone on a course, and they'd actually paid $30,000 to do a Akashic record course, which I thought was just totally mad, since they weren't actually able to access the Akashic records as a direct experience. I just think, like, obviously if you are looking to get into the Akashic records and explore that on a deeper level, then obviously doing it in the astral is the most direct way of doing it. It's the experience that you'll hear people talking about in near-death experiences, where they're able to go through different timelines, look at different experiences from the past. Sometimes these are almost like a library or a hall of records, or even like cinema rooms. So I think there's different ways of accessing it, but it's the same data.
Yeah, it's different ways of accessing it. Like some, you can access it through what we would call channeling or remote viewing, where you would be sitting, just sitting in meditation and start connecting to the Akashic records, and you can get information, you can get images, you can see things in your mind's eye of the things that you're searching for, and that's one way of doing it. But with astral projection, you're able to actually go out of body and you get to the Akashic records, or a part of the Akashic records, because it's like a huge place, and you're able to look around and experience the whatever you're searching in a holographic way, like all around you. You're interacting with the environment. You're there. It's not just something that you're seeing in your mind's eye, like flashing images or something. It's like you're completely immersed in it. So it's a whole nother level of reading the Akashic records, which to me, it's much more fun. Whenever I have an experience where I'm able to be completely immersed in that, it's just that's just like wow, versus just having something that's flashing in front of my face, or I'm seeing something. There's some more questions here. Classes once you begin. Because we have a question about, do you have unlimited amount of information for classes once you begin the journey? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Christina, by that, but if you mean like if you have unlimited access to information, then yes, like you can you have the program for life, so you can actually access it whenever you need. And that's really important, because this is a lifetime practice. So it's not something that you just do for a few weeks and then you lose access. You need to have access to it for a long time, so you can keep learning. You can keep coming back to it throughout your life. Another thing that's really cool about the information as well is that every single coaching session that we have with our students are getting recorded, and you can, as a student, you can access the past sessions. So if you have, like, if let's say you have maybe a specific question, you can actually search in the archive of all the past coaching sessions and see if there's been another students that have asked a similar question. You can actually find the answer there. So there's a huge library of knowledge, and that's just growing by the day right now, and it's just getting more and more interesting. Of course, the more people have experiences, and you start seeing how this person is having an experience in a specific way, and then this other person is having a very similar experience. You can actually start having these two people start talking to each other. And one of the things that happened a few months ago was that we had one lady that was trying to connect to her husband in the program, and her husband, had a quite traumatic death in an overdose. And then there was another lady that had a very similar situation. Her husband also passed away in the same kind of way. So, of course, they are able to, like, connect with each other and talk and support each other on the journey, because they're now doing the same thing, and they're learning from each other, and they're growing in symbiosis. And it's really interesting to see that. Another question.
There's one down here, Flo. It says, we're having some echo issues. Sorry about that, everyone. Seems to be some technical issues going on. Could astral projection be used to unlock physical superhuman abilities? That's quite a cool question.
Where is that? Which name? Oh, the last one.
It's Groovy Rud 3. And I think what...
Wait, so I'm just going to mute you, because I think that's going to help with the echo situation. Cool?
Okay.
Right. So, could astral projection be used to unlock physical superhuman abilities? That's a really good question. That's a tough question to know if that's possible, but I would say, most things are possible. That's normally my standpoint on these things. And I've seen that astral projection has healed people. I've seen how they're able to go out of body and do something in the out of body state, and they come back, and then there is a change in their physical body that has taken place. We had one. I have one friend that had a skin problem, which he couldn't heal with anything. Tried different supplements and tried pills and creams and all kinds of experts. Didn't work. Then he went out of body, and then he created a healing cream in the astral. He with your intention, you can create things in the astral. So he went ahead, got a body, and then created this healing cream that he then put on his arms. And then he felt a very refreshing feeling. He came back to his body. He looked at his hands, his arms. Nothing had changed immediately. But then after 2 weeks, he said it slowly faded away. His skin probably just disappeared. So that was just something that happened with healing, with removing a physical symptom on the skin. Now, can you then astral project and maybe create some sort of special abilities on your physical body, or in the physical, that you didn't have before? That's a great idea. Why not? We should try it out. Anything to say about that, Matt?
Yeah, well, I think this is something that, if you look back at the kind of rishis in India, this is something that they would be talking about, which is the siddhis, which is basically the ability to do things like be in two places at the same time, physically manifest things instantaneously, have precognition, very, very powerful psychic abilities. And all of these, I would say, are definitely something that would be increased through a practice of astral projection. You know, the rishis, one of the key ways of them actually obviously getting these abilities was to actually travel into the astral and go deep into meditation, going to samadhi and things like that. So yeah, I think it's definitely an area that could be more researched and looked into.
Nice. I have a question here from Lillian Rocks. Is it possible to change the past with astral projection? Let me mute you again. Okay. Is it possible to change the past with astral projection, like the lady with kidney disease? So yeah, so Carly, the way that she did it, you know, she had these astral projections when she was able to go back into visit her younger self and change things. And so that is there is, the thing is, it's so hard to talk about time, but it's like we're talking about a multidimensional universe where time isn't linear, which is really weird for us humans to understand how that can be. But somehow things are connected. The past, the now, the future, everything is connected in this weird quantum mechanics kind of way. You know, quantum mechanics, physics, they're trying to understand these things today. We're not really there yet, but it's talking about that, how things are connected with past and present and future. And so yes, you can do that. You can change the past, and I think things will then change in the now. Maybe not instantly, because these things usually take time. It's a bit like manifestation. You put your thoughts on creating something today, and it's going to take a few months, maybe weeks, maybe a year until that has manifested into the physical. So if you start changing past timelines, it's going to take some time until that solidifies into the now. And there's a really interesting experience that Robert Monroe, which you guys probably know about Robert Monroe, the godfather of astral projection. He was talking about, and I think in his second book, he's having this experience where he gets to experience himself dying. So he gets out of body, gets to see one of his past lives, and in one of his past lives, he gets to see how he is on a battlefield and he gets a spear that pierces his body, and he falls on the ground, he dies, and then this energy body comes out, having an out-of-body experience, and he gets to see how this energy body, him, is really confused, doesn't know what happened. He looks at his body on the ground, is trying to like fight with the other soldiers on this battlefield, but he just penetrates, his horns just goes through, and he's really confused. And then suddenly there is this light beam that comes from the sky and just floats down to him, kind of like an angel. And then this being just takes his hand and takes him away from that battlefield and takes him somewhere else, like to the astral or this other place they're supposed to go. And so he got to see how he got to have this experience where he saw how he died in this one experience, and how there was this angel that came to save him. And then in his third book, he gets really advanced. He starts to go out of body a lot, and he starts to assist different people with their transition. So he gets out of body, he gets pulled into different directions to help different people with their transition. And at some point in the book, he talks about how he gets pulled to a battlefield, and he sees this young man that is needing his help, and he goes and helps this young man to the astral to transition. So he is the angel saving himself. He's also, this poor man that died getting speared, and the angel saved him. And this is where it gets complicated, right? So it's like, this is how these timelines kind of interact in this weird way, where you have your future self helping you in the past and in the present time and all of that. So that's it. Confusing. Yeah, I'm going to unmute you now, Matthew.
Hey, I'm having some pretty intense technical issues, so I'm sorry if I'm not moving or if everything looks totally bizarre.
Okay, no worries. Then, I mean, it's been 1 hour and 30 minutes. I think it's been quite a long time. It's probably time for us to end. For everybody that has wondered, what the costs are for our program, and you want probably more details about the costs, the structure, the details, everything like that, the best thing to do is just book a call with us, and then the call is free. You can book a free call, and you can ask all the questions you want. You'll be speaking with Matthew directly, and you can ask him all the questions that you might have thought about. Maybe you thought about going back in time or going to the future, or maybe you thought about seeing a deceased relative. Whatever it is that you wanted to do, just speak to Matthew about it, and he's going to help you with all of these questions and explain to you how everything works, what different options there are, and how we can make it possible. This is a very independent, very personalized program, and so it's important to come on this call with us. So yeah, with that said, thank you so much, guys, for coming to this session. It's been really fun to have you here. Matthew, do you want to say some final words to have you here? Matthew, do you want to say some final words?
Yeah, thank you all for all your time. I look forward to hopefully speaking with some of you soon. Sorry about the lag, and yeah, just keep that thirst, for expanding consciousness, for healing yourself, and know that you're already whole. It's just we've just got an identity crisis at the moment, thinking that we're somebody. But as soon as we let go of that, then you realize that you don't need to be anybody because you are everything. So blessings.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Matt. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
If you would like to find out more information about our Astral Projection program, then please click the link below and visit our website. Here you can watch our free Astral Projection training video, our student stories, and also book a free discovery call with us. During this call, we will discover where you are at with the practice right now and where you would like to be in the future, and then create a plan of action of actually making that a reality for you. So we're looking forward to be speaking to you soon.